Question 1. Process analysis reveals a critical incident has occurred, causing a complete outage of a core business application. The incident management team has identified a potential fix that can be implemented quickly, but it requires modifying a production server configuration. The urgency to restore service is extremely high, with significant financial and reputational impact anticipated if the outage continues. What is the most appropriate course of action to address this critical incident while adhering to ITIL principles as supported by IBM SmartCloud Control Desk? Option A. Implement the fix immediately as an emergency change, ensuring it is documented, approved through an expedited process, and includes a rollback plan. Option B. Initiate a normal change process, submitting the proposed fix for full change advisory board, CAB, review and scheduling. Option C. Implement the fix as a standard change, relying on its pre-approved nature for routine modifications. Option D. Implement the fix without creating any change record or seeking approval, as the priority is immediate service restoration. Correct answer is A. Implement the fix immediately as an emergency change, ensuring it is documented, approved through an expedited process, and includes a rollback plan. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT service management: the need to balance the urgency of a critical incident with the established processes for change management. The pressure to restore service quickly can lead to bypassing standard procedures, which, while seemingly efficient in the short term, introduces significant risks. The professional challenge lies in making a judgment call that prioritizes both immediate service restoration and long-term system stability and compliance, adhering to the principles of ITIL as implemented within IBM SmartCloud Control Desk. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves initiating a rapid change process that, while expedited, still adheres to the core principles of change management as defined by ITIL and supported by IBM SmartCloud Control Desk. This means documenting the emergency change, obtaining necessary approvals even if expedited, and ensuring that a rollback plan is in place. This approach represents best professional practice because it acknowledges the urgency of the incident while maintaining a degree of control and accountability. It aligns with the regulatory framework of ITIL by ensuring that even emergency changes are managed, minimizing the risk of further disruption or security breaches. IBM Smart Cloud Control Desk is designed to facilitate such controlled emergency changes, providing workflows for rapid approval and documentation. Incorrect approach is analysis. Implementing the fix without any change record or approval is a direct violation of change management, best practices, and the underlying principles of ITIL. This creates a significant regulatory and ethical failure by introducing undocumented changes into the production environment. This lack of documentation makes it impossible to track the root cause of future issues, audit the system's integrity, or ensure compliance with any relevant service level agreements or security policies. It also bypasses the risk assessment inherent in the change management process, potentially introducing new vulnerabilities or incompatibilities. Implementing the fix as a standard change without proper risk assessment or a rollback plan is also professionally unacceptable. Standard changes are pre-approved for routine, low-risk activities. An emergency fix for a critical incident is inherently high risk and requires specific authorization and planning, not the blanket approval of a standard change. This approach fails to meet the regulatory requirement for due diligence in managing changes that impact service availability and integrity. Implementing the fix as a normal change, which involves the full change advisory board, CAB, review and extended lead time, would be professionally inappropriate in this critical incident scenario. While it adheres to the standard process, it fails to address the urgency of the situation, leading to prolonged service disruption. This inaction, in the face of a critical incident, could be considered a failure to meet service-level objectives and a breach of professional responsibility to restore service promptly. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach such situations by first assessing the severity and impact of the incident. If it's critical, the immediate priority is service restoration. However, this must be balanced with the need for control. The decision-making process should involve 1. Incident assessment. Determine the criticality and impact. 2. Emergency change protocol. Consult the organization's defined emergency change procedures. 3. Documentation and approval. Initiate the fastest possible documented change process, ensuring necessary approvals are obtained, even if expedited. This includes a clear rollback plan. 4. Post-incident review. After the incident is resolved, conduct a thorough review to identify process improvements and ensure all documentation is finalized. This structured approach ensures that immediate needs are met while maintaining the integrity and stability of the IT environment, adhering to both operational best practices and regulatory compliance. Question 2. Regulatory review indicates a potential security vulnerability within the IBM SmartCloud Control Desk V1 environment related to the management of user access for remote support personnel. The review highlights concerns about the granularity of permissions granted to these individuals and the potential for unauthorized access to sensitive customer data. Which of the following approaches best addresses these concerns while adhering to regulatory frameworks governing data protection and system security? Option A. Immediately revoke all remote access privileges for support personnel until a new, more restrictive access policy can be developed and implemented, which may take several weeks. Option B. Rely on the existing security awareness training for support staff to mitigate any potential risks, assuming that their professional conduct will prevent unauthorized access. Option C. Conduct a comprehensive audit of all remote support user accounts, meticulously reviewing their assigned roles and permissions against the principle of least privilege. Based on this audit, implement targeted adjustments to access controls, ensuring that each user only has the minimum necessary permissions to perform their duties, and document all changes and justifications. Option D. Implement a blanket policy requiring all remote support personnel to use a single, shared administrative account to simplify management and monitoring of their activities. The correct answer is C. Conduct a comprehensive audit of all remote support user accounts, meticulously reviewing their assigned roles and permissions against the principle of least privilege. Based on this audit, implement targeted adjustments to access controls, ensuring that each user only has the minimum necessary permissions to perform their duties, and document all changes and justifications. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing operational efficiency with strict adherence to regulatory compliance, specifically concerning data privacy and security, as mandated by relevant frameworks applicable to IBM Smart Cloud Control Desk V1 implementations. The core challenge lies in identifying and mitigating risks associated with unauthorized access to sensitive customer data, while ensuring the system remains functional for legitimate business operations. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a systematic and documented process for identifying and addressing potential vulnerabilities. This aligns with the principle of least privilege and robust access control mechanisms, which are fundamental to data protection regulations. By conducting a thorough risk assessment and implementing appropriate controls, the organization demonstrates due diligence and a commitment to safeguarding sensitive information, thereby minimizing the likelihood of regulatory breaches and associated penalties. An incorrect approach that involves immediately disabling all remote access without a proper assessment fails to consider the legitimate business needs and operational requirements. This can lead to significant disruption, impacting service delivery and potentially violating service-level agreements. From a regulatory perspective, such an abrupt action without a clear justification and a plan for remediation could be seen as an overreaction that hinders business continuity rather than a measured response to a security concern. Another incorrect approach, which involves relying solely on anecdotal evidence or user complaints without a formal investigation, is professionally unacceptable. It bypasses established incident response procedures and lacks the rigor required for effective risk management. It fails to provide a verifiable basis for security decisions and could lead to misallocation of resources or the implementation of ineffective controls. Ethically, it demonstrates a lack of commitment to a structured and evidence-based approach to security, potentially leaving the organization vulnerable. A further incorrect approach, such as implementing a broad, one-size-fits-all security policy without considering the specific context of IBM Smart Cloud Control Desk V1's functionalities and the data it handles, is also problematic. This can lead to unnecessary restrictions that impede legitimate user access or, conversely, fail to address the most critical vulnerabilities. Professional decision-making in such situations requires a structured process. First, clearly define the scope of the problem and the regulatory requirements. Second, conduct a comprehensive risk assessment to identify potential threats and vulnerabilities. Third, evaluate potential solutions based on their effectiveness, feasibility, and impact on operations. Fourth, implement chosen solutions with clear documentation and communication. And finally, establish a process for ongoing monitoring and review to ensure continued compliance and security. Question 3. Market research demonstrates that organizations are increasingly reliant on cloud-based services for critical business operations. In this context, a critical business application hosted on IBM SmartCloud Control Desk V1 is experiencing a severe performance degradation, impacting multiple users. The service desk has logged the incident, but the initial attempts to resolve it using standard troubleshooting procedures have been unsuccessful. The business is demanding immediate restoration of service. Which of the following actions best aligns with the principles of effective incident management within the framework of IBM SmartCloud Control Desk V1 and regulatory compliance? Option A. Advise the business users to temporarily switch to a less critical, alternative application while the incident is being investigated through the standard, albeit potentially time-consuming, process. Option B. Bypass the formal escalation process and directly contact a senior engineer known to have expertise in the affected application, requesting an immediate fix without further documentation. Option C. Immediately escalate the incident to the appropriate technical support team through the documented escalation matrix within IBM SmartCloud Control Desk V1, ensuring all relevant details are captured and communicated. Option D. Implement a temporary workaround by restarting the application server without fully investigating the root cause or documenting the workaround's limitations. The correct answer is C. Immediately escalate the incident to the appropriate technical support team through the documented escalation matrix within IBM SmartCloud Control Desk V1, ensuring all relevant details are captured and communicated. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent tension between the need for rapid incident resolution and the imperative to adhere to established ITIL processes, specifically within the context of IBM SmartCloud Control Desk V1. The pressure to restore service quickly can lead to shortcuts that bypass critical documentation and approval steps, potentially creating future problems or violating compliance requirements. Careful judgment is required to balance immediate operational needs with long-term stability and governance. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes adherence to the defined incident management process within IBM SmartCloud Control Desk V1. This includes accurate logging, categorization, prioritization, and escalation according to established procedures. By following these steps, the organization ensures that incidents are handled consistently, that valuable data for trend analysis and service improvement is captured, and that compliance with any relevant internal policies or external regulations, if applicable to the exam's implied jurisdiction, is maintained. This structured approach fosters accountability and provides a clear audit trail. An incorrect approach that bypasses the formal escalation process and directly contacts a senior engineer without proper logging fails to adhere to the established workflows. This bypass can lead to a lack of visibility into the incident, preventing proper prioritization and resource allocation. It also undermines the authority of the service desk and potentially the incident manager, creating an ad hoc and unpredictable resolution path. From a regulatory or ethical standpoint, this can be seen as a failure of due diligence and process adherence, potentially impacting service-level agreements, SLAs, and auditability. Another incorrect approach that involves implementing a quick fix without documenting the root cause or the resolution steps is also professionally unacceptable. While it might resolve the immediate symptom, it fails to address the underlying issue, increasing the likelihood of recurrence. This lack of documentation hinders problem management efforts, prevents knowledge sharing, and can lead to inconsistent resolutions in the future. It also represents a failure to learn from incidents, which is a core tenet of effective IT service management. A professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of the established ITIL processes as implemented in IBM SmartCloud Control Desk V1. When faced with an urgent incident, the first step is always to log it accurately and assess its impact and urgency according to the defined criteria. If the standard escalation path is insufficient or too slow, the process should still be followed, but with clear communication to the relevant stakeholders about the urgency and the need for expedited review. Documenting all actions, even temporary workarounds, is crucial. The focus should be on restoring service, while simultaneously ensuring that the incident management process is respected, and that opportunities for problem management are not missed. Question 4. The monitoring system demonstrates a recurring alert indicating a minor deviation in a non-critical system parameter, occurring every Tuesday between 2:00 a.m. and 2:15 a.m. This alert has been observed for the past 3 weeks, but no user-reported issues or service degradations have been associated with it. The IT operations team is deciding how to best address this situation. Option A. Immediately escalate the alert to a high-priority incident, requiring immediate investigation and resolution by the senior technical team, as any recurring alert signifies a critical failure. Option B. Ignore the recurring alert, assuming it is a benign anomaly that does not affect service delivery and will resolve itself over time. Option C. Close the alert as a false positive without further investigation, as no user impact has been reported. Option D. Create a problem ticket to investigate the root cause of the recurring alert, correlating it with any scheduled maintenance or batch jobs that occur during that time, and assess its potential for future impact. Correct answer is D. Create a problem ticket to investigate the root cause of the recurring alert, correlating it with any scheduled maintenance or batch jobs that occur during that time, and assess its potential for future impact. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT service management, balancing proactive issue detection with the potential for alert fatigue and misinterpretation. The monitoring system's demonstration of a recurring, low-severity event requires a nuanced approach that aligns with best practices for incident and problem management as defined within the context of ITIL, which is foundational to IBM SmartCloud Control Desk. The challenge lies in distinguishing between a genuine, albeit minor, recurring issue that could escalate and a transient anomaly that does not warrant immediate, resource-intensive investigation. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a structured, data-driven investigation. By creating a problem ticket, the team acknowledges the recurring nature of the alert without immediately classifying it as a high-priority incident. This allows for a more thorough analysis of the underlying cause, correlation with other events, and assessment of its actual impact on service availability or performance. This aligns with the ITIL framework's emphasis on preventing future incidents and improving service quality. The regulatory framework in this context is the adherence to established IT service management processes that ensure operational efficiency and service continuity, preventing unnecessary disruption and resource waste. An incorrect approach that immediately escalates the alert to a high-priority incident is professionally unacceptable because it bypasses the diagnostic steps necessary to accurately assess the situation. This can lead to alert fatigue, where genuine critical alerts are overlooked due to a high volume of false positives or low-impact events. It also represents a misallocation of critical resources, diverting attention from potentially more severe issues. Ethically, it can lead to a lack of trust in the monitoring system and the IT support team. Another incorrect approach, which is to ignore the recurring alert, is professionally unacceptable as it directly contravenes the principle of proactive service management. Ignoring recurring events, even if low severity, risks allowing a minor issue to fester and potentially escalate into a significant incident, impacting service availability and user experience. This failure to address known issues can also have compliance implications if it leads to a breach of service-level agreements (SLAs) or other operational standards. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve 1. Understanding the alert. What is the alert indicating? What is its severity and frequency? 2. Contextualizing the alert. Are there other related alerts or events occurring concurrently? What is the impact on affected services or users? 3. Applying ITIL processes. Does this warrant an incident, a problem, or is it a known error that can be documented? 4. Prioritizing based on impact and urgency. Even low-severity alerts need to be assessed for their potential to cause future disruption. 5. Documenting actions. All investigations and decisions must be logged for audit and knowledge sharing. Question 5. Implementation of a critical patch to a core application server is urgently required to address a newly discovered security vulnerability. The IT operations team has identified the specific configuration change needed. Given the immediate threat, what is the most appropriate course of action within the framework of IBM SmartCloud Control Desk, and standard IT governance practices to ensure both security and compliance. Option A. Implement the configuration change without any formal documentation or approval process, as the urgency of the security vulnerability supersedes standard procedures. Option B. Apply the configuration change immediately to mitigate the security risk, and then create a retrospective change request in IBM SmartCloud Control Desk to document the action taken. Option C. Inform the IT operations manager of the required change and proceed with the configuration adjustment based on their verbal authorization, documenting the change in a separate log. Option D. Initiate a formal change request in IBM SmartCloud Control Desk, detailing the patch and configuration change. Seek emergency approval from the Change Advisory Board, CAB. Implement the change, and then verify its successful application and the resolution of the vulnerability. The correct answer is D. Initiate a formal change request in IBM SmartCloud Control Desk, detailing the patch and configuration change. Seek emergency approval from the Change Advisory Board, CAB. Implement the change, and then verify its successful application and the resolution of the vulnerability. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT service management, balancing the need for rapid incident resolution with the imperative to maintain data integrity and compliance. The pressure to restore service quickly can lead to shortcuts that bypass established change management processes. In the context of IBM Smart Cloud Control Desk, SCCD, failing to properly document and approve changes, even those perceived as minor, can have significant downstream consequences. These include audit failures, security vulnerabilities, and an inaccurate configuration management database, CMDB, all of which are critical for effective IT governance and operational stability. The professional challenge lies in navigating these competing priorities while adhering to regulatory frameworks and internal policies. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves adhering strictly to the established change management process within IBM Smart Cloud Control Desk. This means that even for a seemingly minor configuration adjustment, a formal change request must be initiated, assessed for impact, approved by the relevant stakeholders, e.g., Change Advisory Board CAB, and then implemented and verified. This process ensures that all changes are documented, auditable, and have undergone appropriate risk assessment for the jurisdiction specified by the exam, implicitly U.S. regulatory framework given the nature of IT governance and control. This aligns with principles of Sarbanes-Oxley, SOX, compliance, which mandates robust internal controls over financial reporting, including IT systems that support it. Proper change management is a cornerstone of these controls, ensuring that unauthorized or unvetted changes do not compromise data accuracy or system integrity. Furthermore, it supports ITIL best practices, which are foundational to SCCD functionality, emphasizing controlled and documented changes to minimize service disruption and risk. Incorrect approaches analysis. Implementing the configuration change without a formal change request and approval bypasses the core controls of the change management process. This is a direct violation of established IT governance principles, and in a regulated environment can lead to audit findings and potential penalties. It creates an undocumented change, making it impossible to trace the modification, assess its impact retrospectively, or revert it if necessary. This lack of traceability is a significant risk. Performing the change and documenting it only after the fact, without prior approval, still represents a failure in the change management process. While documentation is better than no documentation, it does not satisfy the requirement for proactive risk assessment and approval before implementation. This approach still allows for unauthorized changes to be introduced into the production environment, undermining the integrity of the change control process and potentially introducing unforeseen risks. Escalating the issue to management for a verbal directive to proceed without formal documentation is also an incorrect approach. While management approval is necessary, it must be channeled through the formal change management workflow. Relying on verbal directives creates ambiguity, lacks auditable evidence of approval, and sets a precedent for circumventing established procedures, which is detrimental to long-term IT governance and compliance. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach such situations by prioritizing adherence to documented processes and regulatory requirements. The decision-making framework involves 1. identifying the nature of the proposed action and its potential impact. 2. Consulting the organization's established IT service management, ITSM, policies and procedures, particularly those related to change management. 3. Initiating the appropriate workflow with an IBM SmartCloud control desk, e.g., creating a change request. 4. Ensuring all required approvals are obtained through the defined channels. 5. Documenting the implementation and verification steps. If there are perceived inefficiencies in the process, the professional approach is to advocate for process improvement through formal channels, rather than to bypass existing controls. Question 6. Strategic planning requires a proactive approach to managing critical incidents within the IBM SmartCloud control desk environment. A critical business application is experiencing intermittent performance degradation, impacting user productivity. The immediate pressure is to restore full functionality as quickly as possible. Which of the following approaches best balances the need for rapid resolution with the principles of sound IT governance and regulatory compliance? Option A. Immediately implement a potential fix identified by the support team without formal change request documentation, and then address documentation and root cause analysis post-resolution. Option B. Initiate a formal change request process for a comprehensive root cause analysis and a planned remediation, even if it means extended downtime for the critical application. Option C. Restore the application to its previous stable state using a documented rollback procedure, and then initiate a separate incident investigation and change process for the underlying issue. Option D. Document the incident, identify the most probable cause and a targeted fix, and initiate a streamlined change process for the immediate resolution, followed by a full root cause analysis and any necessary adjustments. Correct answer is A. Immediately implement a potential fix identified by the support team without formal change request documentation, and then address documentation and root cause analysis post-resolution. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT service management, balancing the need for rapid incident resolution with the imperative to maintain service stability and adhere to established processes. The pressure to restore service quickly can lead to shortcuts that bypass critical change management procedures, potentially introducing new risks or exacerbating existing problems. The professional challenge lies in navigating these competing demands, ensuring that immediate actions do not compromise long-term service health or regulatory compliance. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a structured incident resolution process that prioritizes immediate service restoration while simultaneously initiating the necessary change management procedures. This aligns with best practices in IT service management, particularly those emphasized by frameworks like ITIL, which are foundational to tools like IBM SmartCloud Control Desk. By documenting the incident, identifying the root cause, and then initiating a controlled change to implement the fix, the organization ensures that the resolution is not only effective but also auditable and sustainable. This approach minimizes the risk of recurring incidents and maintains the integrity of the IT environment. It also supports compliance with any relevant regulatory frameworks that mandate change control and audit trails for IT operations, ensuring that all actions taken are documented and justifiable. Incorrect approaches analysis. Implementing a fix without proper documentation or change control is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. It bypasses the established audit trails, making it impossible to track what changes were made, why, and by whom. This lack of transparency can lead to compliance violations if regulations require documented change management processes. Furthermore, it increases the risk of introducing new, undocumented issues, potentially leading to further incidents and service degradation, which is professionally irresponsible. Another incorrect approach is to delay the fix until a full root cause analysis and formal change request are completed, even if the immediate impact is severe. While thoroughness is important, this approach fails to adequately address the urgency of a critical incident, leading to prolonged service disruption. This can result in significant business impact, customer dissatisfaction, and potential breaches of service-level agreements, SLAs, which often have regulatory implications regarding service availability. Finally, attempting to resolve the incident through ad hoc, undocumented workarounds without any formal process is professionally unacceptable. This approach creates an environment of technical debt and instability. It is a direct contravention of good IT governance and can lead to significant security vulnerabilities and compliance issues as the state of the IT environment becomes unknown and unmanageable. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach such situations by first prioritizing the immediate impact on the business and service availability. This involves a rapid assessment of the incident's severity. Following this, the focus shifts to restoring service as quickly and safely as possible. Crucially, even in urgent situations, the process should incorporate elements of controlled change. This means documenting the incident, the immediate actions taken, and then initiating a formal change request to implement a permanent, documented solution. This iterative approach ensures that immediate needs are met while maintaining the integrity of the IT service management framework and adhering to any applicable regulatory requirements for change control and auditability. Question 7. The performance metrics show a sustained, albeit minor, degradation in response times for a critical application managed by IBM SmartCloud Control Desk. While the current deviation is within the broader acceptable threshold defined in the service level agreement, there is a noticeable upward trend over the past week, suggesting a potential underlying issue that could lead to a future SLA breach. The application's infrastructure involves multiple integrated services, and the exact cause of the slowdown is not immediately apparent. What is the most appropriate immediate course of action to address this situation? Option A. Immediately restart the application servers and associated middleware components to see if the performance issue resolves itself. Option B. Initiate a formal incident management process to investigate the performance degradation, focusing on root cause analysis and identifying contributing factors across the integrated services. Option C. Continue monitoring the situation without intervention, as the current performance is still within the acceptable SLA limits and the trend is not yet critical. Option D. Assign blame to the team responsible for the most recently deployed change, assuming it is the most likely cause without further investigation. The correct answer is B. Initiate a formal incident management process to investigate the performance degradation, focusing on root cause analysis and identifying contributing factors across the integrated services. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge in managing service-level agreements, SLAs, and ensuring compliance with internal governance and potentially external regulatory expectations related to service availability and performance, as dictated by the C2010-659 exam's focus on IBM SmartCloud Control Desk. The core difficulty lies in interpreting performance data against defined service levels and determining the appropriate course of action when deviations occur, especially when the root cause is not immediately obvious and involves multiple integrated components. Careful judgment is required to balance the need for immediate remediation with a thorough understanding of the underlying issues and their impact on business operations. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a systematic, data-driven investigation aligned with established IT service management (ITSM) principles, which are implicitly supported by the functionalities of IBM SmartCloud Control Desk. By initiating a formal incident management process, the team ensures that the deviation is properly documented, prioritized, and assigned for investigation. This aligns with the need for auditable processes and clear accountability, crucial for demonstrating compliance and continuous service improvement. The focus on root cause analysis, RCA, is paramount for preventing recurrence and ensuring long-term service stability, a key objective in managing IT services effectively. This methodical approach also supports adherence to any contractual SLAs and internal policies governing service uptime and performance. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on immediate, unverified system restarts without proper diagnosis risks masking underlying problems, potentially leading to more severe or recurring issues. This bypasses the structured incident management process, hindering proper documentation and RCA, which could be a failure to comply with internal IT governance policies and potentially external regulations if service disruptions have significant business or customer impact. Another incorrect approach that involves ignoring the performance dip because it falls within a broad acceptable range without further investigation fails to proactively identify potential systemic weaknesses or emerging issues that could escalate. This demonstrates a lack of due diligence and a failure to uphold the spirit of service-level commitments, potentially leading to future, more significant breaches. A third incorrect approach that involves blaming a specific team without evidence or a formal RCA process is unprofessional and counterproductive. It undermines collaboration, prevents accurate problem identification, and can lead to a breakdown in communication and trust, hindering effective problem resolution and potentially violating internal HR or IT governance policies regarding fair and objective performance management. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve 1. Acknowledging and documenting the observed deviation from expected performance. 2. Triggering the appropriate ITSM process, e.g., incident management, to formally investigate. 3. Gathering all relevant data and logs to support RCA. 4. Collaborating with relevant teams to identify the root cause. 5. Implementing corrective actions based on RCA findings. 6. Verifying the effectiveness of corrective actions and updating documentation. 7. Communicating findings and resolutions to stakeholders. This structured approach ensures that issues are addressed comprehensively, efficiently, and in a manner that promotes continuous improvement and compliance. Question 8. Operational review demonstrates that a critical business application is experiencing intermittent performance degradation, impacting multiple users. The service desk analyst is unsure whether to categorize this as a performance issue or a service outage with an IBM SmartCloud Control Desk V1, as the application remains accessible but is significantly slower than usual. Which approach best ensures adherence to ITIL principles and contractual service level agreements, SLAs, when categorizing this incident? Option A. Assign a generic general problem category to the incident to avoid potential misclassification and allow for broader investigation later. Option B. Categorize the incident based on the analyst's immediate perception of the impact, prioritizing speed of ticket creation over detailed analysis. Option C. Escalate the incident immediately to a senior technician without attempting initial categorization, assuming they will have the necessary expertise. Option D. Thoroughly review the incident's symptoms, user impact, and the defined categorization schema within IBM SmartCloud Control Desk V1 to determine the most accurate classification, potentially consulting documentation or a supervisor if ambiguity persists. The correct answer is B. Categorize the incident based on the analyst's immediate perception of the impact, prioritizing speed of ticket creation over detailed analysis. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT service management, balancing the need for robust incident resolution with the imperative to maintain service availability and adhere to defined service-level agreements, SLAs. The professional challenge lies in accurately categorizing incidents to ensure they are routed to the appropriate support teams and prioritized correctly, thereby minimizing business impact and meeting contractual obligations. IBM SmartCloud Control Desk V1, as a foundational ITSM tool, relies heavily on accurate incident categorization for effective workflow automation and reporting. The correct approach, which involves a thorough review of the incident's symptoms and business impact against established categorization schemas within IBM SmartCloud Control Desk V1, represents best professional practice. This aligns with the principles of the IT Infrastructure Library, ITIL framework, which underpins many ITSM solutions like Control Desk. Specifically, accurate categorization ensures that incidents are 1. Assigned to the correct support group for efficient resolution, 2. Prioritized according to their business impact and urgency, and 3. Tracked effectively for trend analysis and continuous service improvement. This methodical approach minimizes the risk of misrouting, delayed resolution, and potential SLA breaches, all of which can have significant financial and reputational consequences for the organization. An incorrect approach that bypasses the standard categorization process, perhaps due to time pressure or a perceived lack of clarity, introduces significant regulatory and ethical risks. For instance, if an incident is miscategorized as low impact when it is actually critical, it may not receive the urgent attention required, leading to extended downtime and potential violation of contractual SLAs. This failure to adhere to established processes can be seen as a breach of professional duty to manage IT services effectively and responsibly. Furthermore, inaccurate categorization can skew reporting metrics, hindering the organization's ability to identify systemic issues and make informed decisions about resource allocation and service improvements, which could have broader compliance implications if service delivery is a regulated activity. Another incorrect approach might be to assign a generic unknown category, which, while seemingly expedient, defeats the purpose of categorization and leads to the same issues of misrouting and delayed resolution, ultimately failing to meet the operational requirements of the system and potentially violating service commitments. The professional decision-making process in such situations should involve a commitment to understanding the incident's true nature and impact. This requires leveraging the available tools and documentation, such as the incident description, user reports, and the defined categorization structure within IBM SmartCloud Control Desk V1. When in doubt, consulting with experienced colleagues or subject matter experts, or escalating for clarification, is a sign of professional diligence rather than a failure. The ultimate goal is to ensure that the incident is handled in a manner that is both efficient and compliant with organizational policies and service commitments. Question 9. Investigation of how to effectively manage a critical incident impacting multiple core business services within an organization utilizing IBM Smart Cloud Control Desk V1, considering the need to restore functionality swiftly while adhering to established IT service management protocols. Option A. Halt all remediation efforts until a definitive root cause is identified and a perfect, risk-free solution is developed, even if it means prolonged service outage. Option B. Prioritize incident resolution based on the business impact of each affected service, following the documented incident management process for diagnosis, escalation, and resolution, and engaging problem management for root cause analysis. Option C. Initiate a full system rollback to the last known stable configuration across all affected services, regardless of the potential for data loss or extended downtime. Option D. Immediately deploy a hotfix to the most affected server, without further testing or impact analysis, to restore service as quickly as possible. Correct answer is D. Immediately deploy a hotfix to the most affected server without further testing or impact analysis to restore service as quickly as possible. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT service management, where a critical incident impacts multiple business services. The professional challenge lies in prioritizing remediation efforts effectively when faced with competing demands and limited resources. The urgency of restoring critical business functions must be balanced against the potential for broader system instability if not handled correctly. The need for clear communication and adherence to established processes is paramount to avoid further disruption and maintain stakeholder confidence. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a systematic, process-driven response aligned with ITIL best practices, which are foundational to IBM Smart Cloud Control Desk V1. This approach prioritizes the incident based on its business impact, ensuring that the most critical services are restored first. It leverages the incident management process to document, categorize, and prioritize the issue, and then escalates to problem management if the root cause is not immediately apparent or if recurring incidents are observed. This ensures a structured and auditable resolution, minimizing downtime and preventing future occurrences. Adherence to established service level agreements, SLAs, is a key regulatory and operational requirement in IT service delivery, and this approach directly addresses that. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach involves immediately deploying a fix without proper impact assessment or testing. This is professionally unacceptable because it bypasses critical validation steps, potentially introducing new issues or exacerbating the existing problem. This failure to follow established change management and incident resolution protocols constitutes a significant regulatory and ethical lapse, as it can lead to further service degradation and breach of SLAs. Another incorrect approach is to focus solely on the technical aspect of the incident without considering the business impact. This is a failure of professional judgment and can lead to prioritizing the wrong services for restoration, causing greater business disruption. It demonstrates a lack of understanding of the core purpose of IT service management, which is to support business objectives. This can lead to regulatory noncompliance if SLAs related to business continuity are not met. A third incorrect approach is to delay action due to uncertainty about the root cause. While thorough investigation is important, prolonged inaction during a critical incident is professionally and ethically indefensible. It directly violates the principle of timely incident resolution and can lead to severe business consequences, potentially resulting in regulatory penalties for failing to meet service availability commitments. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a decision-making framework that emphasizes adherence to established ITIL processes, particularly incident and problem management. This involves 1. Rapidly assessing the business impact of the incident to determine priority. 2. Following documented procedures for incident logging, categorization, and prioritization. 3. Engaging the appropriate technical teams for diagnosis and resolution. 4. Communicating effectively with stakeholders regarding progress and expected resolution times. 5. Escalating to problem management for root cause analysis and preventative measures. This structured approach ensures accountability, compliance with SLAs, and minimizes overall business risk. Question 10. What factors determine the most effective approach to defining incident categories and prioritization levels within IBM SmartCloud Control Desk to ensure alignment with IT service management best practices and organizational objectives? Option A. Relying on the subjective assessment of urgency provided by end users without a standardized impact analysis to guide prioritization. Option B. Implementing ad hoc, undocumented decision-making processes for incident categorization and prioritization to allow for maximum flexibility. Option C. Prioritizing incident categorization based solely on the speed at which the service desk can assign a category, regardless of its accuracy or downstream impact. Option D. Establishing clear, objective criteria for categorization and prioritization based on business impact and urgency, supported by documented procedures and regular review. The correct answer is D. Establishing clear, objective criteria for categorization and prioritization based on business impact and urgency, supported by documented procedures and regular review. Explanation. The scenario involves a critical decision regarding the implementation of a new incident management process within IBM SmartCloud Control Desk. The challenge lies in balancing the need for immediate operational efficiency with the long-term implications of process design and adherence to established IT service management ITSM best practices, which are implicitly governed by the principles of effective IT governance and service delivery expected within the context of IBM's product suite and its intended use. The core of the challenge is to ensure that the chosen approach to incident categorization and prioritization, while seemingly straightforward, aligns with the broader objectives of service restoration, impact minimization, and resource optimization, all of which are fundamental to successful IT operations. The correct approach emphasizes a structured, data-driven methodology for defining incident categories and prioritization levels. This aligns with the principles of ITIL, Information Technology Infrastructure Library, a widely recognized framework for IT service management, which IBM SmartCloud Control Desk is designed to support. By establishing clear, unambiguous criteria for categorization and prioritization, organizations can ensure consistent and accurate incident handling, leading to faster resolution times, better resource allocation, and improved customer satisfaction. This approach fosters transparency and accountability within the IT support function, enabling effective reporting and continuous improvement. It also supports the underlying governance requirements for IT service delivery by providing a framework for managing risks and ensuring service continuity. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on the speed of initial categorization without considering the downstream impact on prioritization or resolution would be professionally unacceptable. This failure stems from a lack of comprehensive understanding of the incident management lifecycle. It risks misallocating resources, delaying critical incident resolution, and potentially exacerbating the impact of incidents on business operations. From a regulatory and ethical standpoint, this approach could lead to a breach of service-level agreements, SLAs, and a failure to meet the organization's duty of care in providing reliable IT services. Another incorrect approach that prioritizes user-reported urgency over a defined impact assessment would also be professionally unsound. A user perception of urgency is important. It must be objectively validated against the actual business impact of the incident. Without a standardized impact assessment, critical incidents affecting a large number of users or core business functions might be overlooked in favor of less impactful, but more vocally reported, issues. This can lead to a misallocation of scarce IT resources, prolonged downtime for critical systems, and a failure to meet the organization's operational objectives. This represents a failure in due diligence and responsible IT management. A third incorrect approach that relies on ad hoc, undocumented decision-making for categorization and prioritization is fundamentally flawed. This lack of standardization creates an environment ripe for inconsistency, bias, and errors. It makes it impossible to track performance, identify trends, or implement improvements effectively. Ethically, it undermines the principles of fairness and equity in service delivery, as different users or incidents might receive disparate treatment without a clear rationale. This approach also fails to meet basic IT governance requirements for auditability and accountability. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a thorough understanding of the organization's business objectives, the capabilities of the IT service management tool, IBM SmartCloud Control Desk, and the principles of ITIL or other relevant ITSM frameworks. It requires a collaborative approach involving IT operations, business stakeholders, and service desk personnel to define clear, measurable, and actionable criteria for incident categorization and prioritization. This process should be iterative, allowing for feedback and continuous improvement based on operational data and evolving business needs. Question 11. When evaluating the impact of a newly mandated data privacy regulation on the operational efficiency of an existing IBM Smart Cloud Control Desk implementation, which approach best balances regulatory compliance with the commitment to existing service level agreements, SLAs? Option A. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment involving technical, legal, and business stakeholders to determine necessary adjustments to SCCD configurations and processes, and then initiate a formal change request to modify SLAs if required, ensuring transparent communication throughout. Option B. Inform all stakeholders that existing SLAs will be temporarily suspended until the impact of the new regulation is fully understood and addressed, without providing a clear timeline for resolution or a plan for service restoration. Option C. Immediately enforce existing SLAs without modification, assuming that the new regulation does not directly impact the technical delivery of services, and address any compliance issues reactively if they arise. Option D. Proactively reconfigure SCCD settings and workflows to meet the new regulation's requirements without consulting stakeholders or assessing the impact on current SLA performance, prioritizing compliance above all else. Correct answer is A. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment involving technical, legal, and business stakeholders to determine necessary adjustments to SCCD configurations and processes, and then initiate a formal change request to modify SLAs if required, ensuring transparent communication throughout. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge in managing service-level agreements, SLAs, within the context of IBM Smart Cloud Control Desk, SCCD implementation, specifically concerning the impact of a new regulatory compliance requirement on existing service delivery. The core difficulty lies in balancing the need to meet new, stringent regulatory demands with the commitment to existing SLA targets, which may become unachievable without adjustments. Careful judgment is required to assess the feasibility of current operations against the new compliance mandate and to proactively communicate potential impacts to stakeholders. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a thorough, data-driven assessment of the new regulatory requirements' impact on SCCD operations and existing SLAs. This involves engaging relevant technical and business teams to understand the scope of changes needed, estimating the resources and time required, and then initiating a formal change management process. This proactive and transparent method ensures that all parties are informed of potential SLA deviations and allows for collaborative decision-making regarding adjustments or mitigation strategies. This aligns with principles of good governance and responsible IT service management, ensuring that compliance is achieved without undue disruption or misleading stakeholders about service capabilities. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on enforcing existing SLAs without considering the new regulatory burden is professionally unacceptable. This failure stems from a disregard for the overarching legal and regulatory obligations, which typically supersede contractual SLAs in cases of conflict. Such an approach risks non-compliance, potentially leading to significant legal penalties, reputational damage, and loss of customer trust. It demonstrates a lack of strategic foresight and an inability to adapt to evolving business and legal landscapes. Another incorrect approach that involves unilaterally adjusting SCCD configurations to meet the new regulations without assessing the impact on existing SLAs or communicating with stakeholders is also professionally flawed. While it addresses the compliance aspect, it does so at the expense of contractual obligations and stakeholder expectations. This can lead to breaches of contract, disputes with customers, and a breakdown in trust. It bypasses essential change management processes and fails to acknowledge the interconnectedness of IT operations and business commitments. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve a structured approach. 1. Understand the new requirement. Fully grasp the scope and implications of the regulatory mandate. 2. Assess impact. Analyze how the new requirement affects current IT services, infrastructure, and processes managed by SCCD. 3. Evaluate feasibility. Determine if existing SLAs can still be met under the new compliance regime. 4. Engage stakeholders. Communicate potential impacts and involve relevant parties in decision-making. 5. Develop solutions. Propose adjustments to SLAs, processes, or configurations, considering both compliance and business needs. 6. Implement change. Follow formal change management procedures for any approved modifications. Question 12. Cost-benefit analysis shows that implementing a new, advanced workflow automation module for IBM SmartCloud Control Desk could significantly streamline incident resolution times, but it requires substantial customization and integration effort. Considering the exam's focus on applying IBM Smart Cloud Control Desk effectively within a governed IT environment, which of the following approaches best aligns with professional best practices for evaluating and implementing such a change? Option A. Prioritize the implementation of the advanced workflow module due to its potential for significant efficiency gains, assuming that the benefits will outweigh the costs and risks, and proceed with customization after initial deployment. Option B. Focus on implementing the most basic, out-of-the-box workflow capabilities of the module first, deferring any advanced customization or integration until a later, unspecified time to minimize initial complexity. Option C. Immediately approve the purchase and implementation of the advanced workflow module, as its advanced features are inherently valuable and will modernize the service desk operations, regardless of specific business case or integration challenges. Option D. Conduct a detailed assessment of the proposed module's alignment with current business needs and existing IT governance policies, including a thorough risk analysis and a phased implementation plan before committing resources. The correct answer is A. Prioritize the implementation of the advanced workflow module due to its potential for significant efficiency gains, assuming that the benefits will outweigh the costs and risks, and proceed with customization after initial deployment. Explanation. The scenario presents a common challenge in IT service management, balancing the desire for enhanced functionality with the practical constraints of budget and regulatory compliance. The professional challenge lies in discerning which proposed solution, while seemingly beneficial, truly aligns with the organization's strategic objectives and the specific regulatory landscape governed by the C2010-659 exam's implied jurisdiction, which we will assume for this exercise is a generic IT governance framework without specific country mandates, focusing on best practices within the scope of IBM Smart Cloud Control Desk. The need for careful judgment arises from the potential for scope creep, the impact on existing processes, and the risk of introducing vulnerabilities or non-compliance if a solution is implemented without thorough vetting. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a structured, evidence-based decision-making process that directly addresses the core requirements of the IBM Smart Cloud Control Desk implementation. By focusing on the alignment of proposed features with existing business needs and the established IT governance framework, it ensures that any investment in new functionality delivers tangible value and maintains operational integrity. This approach is ethically sound as it promotes responsible resource allocation and avoids unnecessary expenditure or the introduction of unvetted risks. It also adheres to the principles of good IT governance, which emphasize alignment, value delivery, and risk management. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on the perceived coolness or advanced nature of a feature without a clear business case or a thorough risk assessment is professionally unacceptable. This demonstrates a lack of strategic thinking and a failure to adhere to the principles of IT service management, potentially leading to wasted resources and increased operational complexity. Another incorrect approach that bypasses established change management and approval processes introduces significant regulatory and ethical risks. It undermines the organization's control environment, increases the likelihood of errors or security breaches, and can lead to non-compliance with internal policies and potentially external regulations if such exist within the exam's scope. Such actions represent a disregard for due diligence and a failure to uphold professional responsibility. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a systematic evaluation of proposed solutions against defined criteria. This includes understanding the business problem the solution aims to solve, assessing its alignment with strategic goals, evaluating its technical feasibility and integration with existing systems, conducting a thorough risk assessment, and performing a cost-benefit analysis that considers not just direct costs, but also implementation effort, training, and ongoing maintenance. Crucially, all proposed changes must follow the organization's established change management and governance processes to ensure proper review, approval, and documentation. Question 13. Governance review demonstrates that the recent implementation of IBM SmartCloud Control Desk, SCCD, has introduced potential gaps in the auditable trail for critical incident resolution and change approval processes. Which approach best ensures ongoing compliance with established IT governance frameworks and regulatory mandates? Option A. Focus on optimizing SCCD performance metrics and user interface for immediate operational efficiency, with the understanding that compliance validation can be a secondary, lower priority task to be addressed in future project phases. Option B. Conduct a comprehensive validation of SCCD incident and change management workflows against the existing governance framework and relevant regulatory requirements, making necessary configuration adjustments to ensure full auditability and policy enforcement. Option C. Proceed with the current SCCD configuration, assuming that the underlying data migration will inherently satisfy audit requirements, and address any identified compliance issues reactively as they arise. Option D. Prioritize the technical migration of all historical incident and change data into SCCD, deferring any process alignment or validation with governance frameworks until after the initial deployment phase is complete. The correct answer is B. Conduct a comprehensive validation of SCCD incident and change management workflows against the existing governance framework and relevant regulatory requirements, making necessary configuration adjustments to ensure full auditability and policy enforcement. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT service management where the implementation of a new tool, IBM SmartCloud Control Desk, SCCD, directly impacts established operational processes and regulatory compliance. The challenge lies in balancing the efficiency gains promised by SCCD with the need to maintain adherence to existing governance frameworks and audit trails, particularly concerning incident management and change control. The professional challenge is to ensure that the SCCD implementation not only functions technically, but also integrates seamlessly into the existing compliance landscape, avoiding any gaps or misinterpretations that could lead to regulatory breaches or audit failures. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a comprehensive validation of SCCD incident and change management workflows against the established governance framework and relevant regulatory requirements. This ensures that SCCD is configured to capture all necessary audit data, enforce defined approval processes, and maintain the integrity of the service desk's operational records. By aligning SCCD functionality with existing governance, the organization upholds its commitment to regulatory compliance, demonstrates due diligence to auditors, and ensures that the tool enhances, rather than compromises, operational control and accountability. This approach prioritizes a risk-based methodology, focusing on the critical control points within incident and change management that are subject to regulatory scrutiny. Incorrect approach is analysis. Implementing SCCD without a thorough validation of its incident and change management workflows against the governance framework is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This approach risks creating a system that bypasses or inadequately records critical audit information, leading to non-compliance with regulations that mandate clear audit trails for IT operations. It also fails to ensure that established change control policies, which are often driven by regulatory requirements for stability and security, are effectively enforced by the new tool. Focusing solely on the technical migration of data into SCCD without validating the underlying process alignment is another failure. This overlooks the fact that SCCD is a tool to support processes, not a replacement for them. If the processes embedded within SCCD do not mirror or adequately support the governance requirements, the data migrated will be insufficient for compliance purposes. This can lead to audit findings of inadequate control and a lack of demonstrable adherence to established policies. Adopting a wait-and-see approach after SCCD deployment, intending to address compliance gaps later, is a highly risky and professionally irresponsible strategy. This approach demonstrates a lack of proactive risk management and a disregard for ongoing regulatory obligations. It exposes the organization to potential penalties, reputational damage, and operational disruptions if critical compliance requirements are found to be unmet during an audit or incident. It also implies a reactive, rather than a strategic approach to IT governance and tool implementation. Professional reasoning. Professionals tasked with implementing IT service management tools like IBM SmartCloud Control Desk must adopt a proactive, risk-aware, and compliance-centric approach. The decision-making process should begin with a thorough understanding of the existing governance framework and all applicable regulatory requirements. This understanding should then be used to define the functional and data requirements for the new tool, specifically focusing on how it will support and enforce compliance. A phased implementation, including rigorous testing and validation against these requirements, is crucial. Post-implementation, continuous monitoring and periodic reviews are necessary to ensure ongoing adherence and adapt to any changes in the regulatory landscape or operational environment. The guiding principle should always be to ensure that the technology serves to strengthen, not weaken, the organization's governance and compliance posture. Question 14. The assessment process reveals that a critical business application is experiencing a severe outage, impacting multiple high-value clients. The incident management team has identified a potential fix that requires an immediate change to the application's configuration. However, the standard change management process within IBM SmartCloud Control Desk, SCCD, typically requires a multi-day approval cycle. The team is debating the best course of action to restore service quickly while maintaining control. Which of the following approaches best balances the urgency of the incident with the need for controlled change management within the SCCD framework? Option A. Initiate an emergency change process within SCCD, documenting the justification, the proposed fix, and a rollback plan, and obtain expedited approval from designated emergency change approvers. Option B. Implement the fix without any documentation in SCCD, assuming the urgency negates the need for formal change tracking. Option C. Bypass SCCD entirely and implement the fix directly, documenting the changes manually in a separate log after the service is restored. Option D. Delay the implementation of the fix until the standard multi-day change approval process within SCCD can be fully completed. The correct answer is A. Initiate an emergency change process within SCCD, documenting the justification, the proposed fix, and a rollback plan, and obtain expedited approval from designated emergency change approvers. Explanation. The assessment process reveals a common challenge in IT service management, balancing the need for rapid incident resolution with the imperative to maintain robust change control processes. In the context of IBM SmartCloud Control Desk, SCCD, this tension is particularly acute when dealing with critical incidents that threaten business operations. The professional challenge lies in making informed decisions under pressure, ensuring that immediate actions do not inadvertently introduce further instability or violate established governance frameworks. The correct approach, which involves leveraging SCCD capabilities to document and expedite emergency changes while still adhering to a defined, albeit accelerated, approval workflow, represents best professional practice. This aligns with ITIL principles of incident and change management, emphasizing the need for controlled, auditable processes even in urgent situations. By using SCCD to track the emergency change, its justification, and the subsequent rollback plan, the organization maintains visibility and accountability, minimizing the risk of unauthorized or poorly planned modifications. This adherence to documented, albeit streamlined, processes is crucial for regulatory compliance and for building trust in the IT service delivery function. An incorrect approach that bypasses SCCD entirely for emergency changes introduces significant regulatory and ethical failures. It creates an out-of-band process, meaning changes are not recorded in the central system of record. This lack of documentation makes it impossible to conduct effective post-incident reviews, identify root causes, or demonstrate compliance with audit requirements. It also increases the risk of unintended consequences, as the impact of the change may not be fully assessed or communicated. Furthermore, it undermines the integrity of the change management process, potentially leading to a culture of bypassing controls, which is a direct violation of good governance and can have severe financial and reputational repercussions. Another incorrect approach, which is to delay the emergency change until a full, standard change process can be completed, is also professionally unacceptable. While it adheres strictly to the standard process, it fails to address the immediate business impact of a critical incident. This demonstrates a lack of understanding of the primary objective of incident management, which is to restore normal service operation as quickly as possible. Such a delay can lead to significant financial losses, damage to customer relationships, and potential regulatory penalties for service disruption, depending on the industry and specific regulations governing the business. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a rapid assessment of the incident's impact, a clear understanding of the available emergency change procedures within SCCD, and a swift evaluation of the risks associated with both proceeding with an emergency change and delaying the resolution. This requires clear communication channels, empowered decision-makers, and a well-defined escalation path. Professionals must prioritize business continuity while ensuring that all actions are documented and auditable, even when operating under extreme time constraints. Question 15. The risk matrix shows a critical vulnerability identified in a core infrastructure component managed by IBM SmartCloud Control Desk, with a high likelihood of exploitation and severe business impact. Which of the following actions best aligns with a risk-informed and compliant approach to remediation? Option A. Escalate the issue to the vendor for a solution and await their direct intervention before taking any action. Option B. Initiate a formal change request, conduct a thorough impact analysis and testing in a non-production environment, and schedule the patch deployment during a planned maintenance window after stakeholder approval. Option C. Document the vulnerability and its potential impact, but defer remediation until the next scheduled major upgrade cycle to avoid disrupting current operations. Option D. Immediately deploy the security patch to the production environment without further testing to mitigate the high risk. The correct answer is D. Immediately deploy the security patch to the production environment without further testing to mitigate the high risk. Explanation. The risk matrix shows a high likelihood of a critical service disruption due to an unpatched vulnerability in a core component managed by IBM SmartCloud Control Desk. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing operational continuity with the imperative to address security risks promptly, all within the constraints of a regulated environment. The challenge lies in determining the most effective and compliant method for remediation without causing further disruption or violating established IT governance principles. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a structured, risk-informed decision-making process aligned with IT service management ITSM best practices, specifically as applied through IBM SmartCloud Control Desk. This involves a thorough impact assessment, a clear change management process, and communication with stakeholders. This aligns with the general principles of IT governance and risk management, which are implicitly expected to be followed when implementing and managing enterprise IT solutions like Smart Cloud Control Desk. The focus is on minimizing risk to the business while ensuring that changes are controlled and documented. An incorrect approach that involves immediately applying the patch without proper testing or change control would be professionally unacceptable. This failure would violate fundamental ITIL principles, which underpin ITSM frameworks like those used with Smart Cloud Control Desk, related to change management and risk mitigation. It could lead to unintended consequences, service outages, and data corruption, thereby increasing the overall risk profile. Furthermore, it bypasses the necessary approvals and documentation, which could have compliance implications if audits reveal a lack of due diligence. Another incorrect approach, such as deferring the patch indefinitely due to perceived operational inconvenience, would also be professionally unacceptable. This demonstrates a disregard for security best practices and a failure to proactively manage identified risks. In a regulated environment, such an action could be interpreted as negligence, potentially leading to significant financial penalties or reputational damage if a breach occurs. It also fails to uphold the duty of care to protect organizational assets and data. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve 1. Understanding the identified risk and its potential impact. 2. Consulting the relevant IT governance policies and procedures. 3. Utilizing the capabilities of IBM SmartCloud Control Desk to assess the impact of the vulnerability and potential remediation actions. 4. Following the established change management process, including impact analysis, testing, scheduling, and communication. 5. Obtaining necessary approvals before implementing any changes. 6. Documenting all actions taken. Question 16. Quality control measures reveal that a critical business application is experiencing intermittent failures, impacting customer transactions. The incident management team has identified a potential fix, but implementing it requires a change to the production environment. The urgency of the situation is high, with potential for significant financial loss and reputational damage if service is not restored promptly. The standard change management process typically involves a multi-day approval cycle. Which of the following actions best balances the need for immediate service restoration with adherence to regulatory and operational best practices within the context of IBM Smart Cloud Control Desk? Option A. Implement the fix immediately to restore service, and then initiate the emergency change process within IBM Smart Cloud Control Desk to document the change and seek retroactive approval, followed by a post-incident review. Option B. Halt all remediation efforts until the full standard change management approval cycle is completed to ensure strict adherence to documented procedures. Option C. Implement the fix and decide to document it at a later, unspecified time, prioritizing other urgent tasks. Option D. Implement the fix without any formal documentation or approval, relying on verbal confirmation from team leads to proceed. The correct answer is A. Implement the fix immediately to restore service, and then initiate the emergency change process within IBM Smart Cloud Control Desk to document the change and seek retroactive approval, followed by a post-incident review. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT service management, where a critical incident impacting a core business function is being managed. A professional challenge lies in balancing the urgency of resolving the incident with the need to adhere to established change management processes and regulatory compliance, particularly concerning data integrity and service availability. The pressure to restore service quickly can tempt teams to bypass standard procedures, which, while seemingly efficient in the short term, can lead to greater risks and compliance violations. Careful judgment is required to determine the appropriate level of deviation from standard processes while ensuring accountability and auditability. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach prioritizes immediate service restoration while ensuring that all necessary documentation and approvals are retroactively obtained or initiated. This aligns with best practices in incident and change management, emphasizing that while emergency changes may be necessary, they must still be governed by a framework that ensures accountability, risk assessment, and future prevention. In the context of IBM Smart Cloud Control Desk, this means leveraging its capabilities to log the emergency change, initiate the approval process, and conduct a post-incident review to update procedures and prevent recurrence. This approach demonstrates a commitment to both operational resilience and regulatory adherence by acknowledging the deviation, but immediately working to bring it back into compliance. Incorrect approach is analysis. One incorrect approach involves proceeding with the fix without any formal documentation or approval, relying solely on verbal consensus. This is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. It bypasses the audit trail required by many compliance frameworks, making it impossible to verify the actions taken, assess the risks introduced, or demonstrate due diligence. This lack of documentation can lead to security vulnerabilities, data integrity issues, and an inability to prove compliance during audits. Another incorrect approach is to delay the fix until all standard change management approvals are obtained, even though the incident is critical. This demonstrates a failure to understand the principles of incident management and business continuity. While adherence to process is important, rigid adherence in a critical situation can lead to prolonged service disruption, significant financial losses, and reputational damage, which can also have regulatory implications if service-level agreements (SLAs) are breached. This approach prioritizes process over business impact and risk mitigation. A third incorrect approach is to implement the fix and then decide to document it later, with no clear commitment to doing so or a defined timeline. This is a partial adherence, but still carries significant risk. The delay in documentation can lead to the details of the fix being forgotten or inaccurately recorded, undermining the integrity of the audit trail. It also creates a window of non-compliance and leaves the organization vulnerable to audit findings. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a decision-making process that first assesses the business impact and urgency of the incident. If immediate action is required, they should initiate an emergency change process with an IBM SmartCloud control desk, documenting the situation and the proposed emergency fix. This should be followed by the quickest possible path to obtaining necessary approvals, even if it's a retroactive or expedited process. A post-incident review is crucial to identify lessons learned and update standard operating procedures to prevent similar situations or improve the emergency change process. This framework ensures that service is restored efficiently while maintaining accountability, auditability, and compliance. Question 17. Stakeholder feedback indicates a critical performance degradation impacting a key business application. Simultaneously, a high-priority security patch has been released that addresses a known vulnerability with potential for widespread exploitation. The IT team has limited resources and can only focus on one major task immediately. Which course of action best balances operational continuity with security imperatives? Option A. Attempt to deploy the security patch and address the performance issue concurrently, accepting the risk of potential service disruption from both efforts. Option B. Prioritize the deployment of the high-priority security patch, communicating the risks of delaying the performance issue resolution to stakeholders and developing a plan for its immediate follow-up. Option C. Immediately address the performance degradation to restore application functionality, deferring the security patch deployment until resources become available. Option D. Escalate the resource constraint to senior management without taking immediate action on either the performance issue or the security patch, awaiting further direction. The correct answer is B. Prioritize the deployment of the high-priority security patch, communicating the risks of delaying the performance issue resolution to stakeholders, and developing a plan for its immediate follow-up. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT service management, where conflicting priorities arise between maintaining service availability and implementing necessary security updates. The professional challenge lies in balancing immediate operational needs with long-term security posture, especially when resources are constrained. The urgency of the stakeholder feedback, demanding immediate resolution of a performance issue, clashes with the critical nature of a pending security patch that, if delayed, could expose the organization to significant risk. Careful judgment is required to avoid making a decision that could lead to either a service disruption or a security breach. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach prioritizes the security patch due to its potential for widespread impact and the inherent risks associated with vulnerabilities. This aligns with best practices in IT governance and risk management, which emphasize proactive security measures. In the context of IBM SmartCloud Control Desk, this would involve leveraging its incident and problem management capabilities to assess the security patch's impact, communicate the risks of delay to stakeholders, and schedule the deployment in a controlled manner, potentially with a rollback plan. This approach demonstrates a commitment to protecting organizational assets and data, a fundamental ethical and professional responsibility. It also adheres to the principle of least privilege and defense in depth, core tenets of robust security frameworks. Incorrect approaches analysis. Delaying the security patch to address the performance issue immediately, without a thorough risk assessment and documented exception, represents a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This decision prioritizes short-term convenience over long-term security, potentially violating data protection regulations and exposing the organization to financial penalties and reputational damage. It also demonstrates a lack of due diligence in managing IT risks, Attempting to apply the security patch without proper testing or a rollback plan, while seemingly addressing the security concern, is also professionally unacceptable. This approach risks introducing new service disruptions, negating the intended benefit of the patch and potentially causing more harm than good. It fails to adhere to established change management processes, which are crucial for maintaining service stability and compliance. Ignoring the stakeholder feedback regarding the performance issue entirely, while focusing solely on the security patch, is also a flawed approach. This demonstrates poor communication and stakeholder management, which can lead to dissatisfaction and a breakdown in trust. While security is paramount, neglecting other critical service issues can impact business operations and user productivity, creating a different set of risks. Professional reasoning. Professionals should employ a structured decision-making process that involves 1. Risk assessment. Quantify the potential impact of both the performance issue and the security vulnerability. 2. Impact analysis. Understand how each issue affects business operations, users, and compliance requirements. 3. Stakeholder communication. Engage with all relevant stakeholders to explain the risks and proposed solutions. 4. Change management. Follow established procedures for implementing changes, including testing and rollback plans. 5. Prioritization. Make informed decisions based on risk, impact, and available resources, always leaning towards mitigating the highest risks first. In this case, the potential impact of a security breach typically outweighs the immediate impact of a performance degradation, provided the performance issue can be managed temporarily. Question 18. The control framework reveals a critical system outage impacting multiple core business functions. The IT operations team is under immense pressure to restore services immediately. Which of the following actions best aligns with the principles of effective incident and problem management as supported by IBM SmartCloud Control Desk, while ensuring professional and ethical conduct? Option A. Attempt to fix the issue without logging it in IBM SmartCloud Control Desk or informing relevant stakeholders to avoid delays. Option B. Focus solely on restoring the service for the business unit that is most vocal about the outage, bypassing formal impact assessment. Option C. Immediately initiate a full root cause analysis before attempting any service restoration to ensure a permanent fix. Option D. Prioritize restoration efforts based on a documented impact assessment and urgency, while simultaneously initiating a problem investigation for root cause analysis. The correct answer is C. Immediately initiate a full root cause analysis before attempting any service restoration to ensure a permanent fix. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT service management, where a critical system outage impacts multiple business units. The professional challenge lies in prioritizing the restoration of services under pressure, balancing immediate business needs with the need for thorough root cause analysis and adherence to established ITIL processes, which are implicitly governed by the principles of good governance and operational efficiency expected within the IBM SmartCloud Control Desk framework. The urgency of the situation can lead to shortcuts that compromise long-term stability and compliance. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a structured incident management process, leveraging IBM SmartCloud Control Desk's capabilities. This means accurately categorizing the incident, performing a swift but effective impact assessment to understand which services are affected and to what degree, and then initiating the appropriate resolution workflow. The focus should be on restoring service as quickly as possible while simultaneously documenting the incident and initiating a problem investigation. This aligns with the core principles of ITIL and the operational efficiency that IBM SmartCloud Control Desk is designed to facilitate, ensuring that business continuity is maintained and that future occurrences are prevented. The regulatory and ethical imperative is to act responsibly, transparently, and with due diligence to minimize business disruption and protect organizational assets. Incorrect approach is analysis. One incorrect approach would be to immediately focus on restoring the most visible or loudest business unit service without a proper impact assessment. This bypasses the structured incident management process, potentially leading to the restoration of less critical services first, or worse, a rushed fix that doesn't address the underlying cause, leading to recurrence. This is ethically questionable as it prioritizes perceived urgency over objective impact and can lead to regulatory noncompliance if service-level agreements, SLAs, are breached due to misallocation of resources. Another incorrect approach would be to delay any restoration efforts until a complete root cause analysis is performed. While root cause analysis is crucial, delaying service restoration in a critical outage scenario is professionally unacceptable and ethically unsound. It demonstrates a lack of understanding of business continuity requirements and can lead to significant financial and reputational damage for the organization, potentially violating regulatory obligations related to service availability. A third incorrect approach would be to attempt a fix without proper documentation or escalation within IBM SmartCloud control desk. This creates an audit trail deficiency, hinders knowledge sharing, and prevents the system from learning from the incident. It is professionally negligent and ethically problematic, as it undermines the principles of accountability and continuous improvement. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a decision-making framework that prioritizes structured incident management. This involves 1. Rapidly identifying and logging the incident in IBM SmartCloud control desk. 2. Conducting a swift but comprehensive impact and urgency assessment to determine the priority. 3. Initiating immediate restoration efforts based on priority, while simultaneously starting the problem management process for root cause analysis. 4. Ensuring all actions are documented within the system for auditability and future reference. This systematic approach ensures that business needs are met, regulatory compliance is maintained, and the organization benefits from lessons learned. Question 19. Quality control measures reveal that a critical business application is experiencing intermittent performance degradation, impacting multiple users. The IT support team has managed to temporarily stabilize the application by restarting a specific service. However, the incident has not yet been fully logged, categorized, or escalated within IBM SmartCloud control desk, and the root cause remains unknown. Which of the following actions best represents the immediate next step to ensure proper incident management and compliance? Option A. Wait for users to report further issues before updating the incident record in IBM SmartCloud control desk to gather more comprehensive data. Option B. Thoroughly document the incident, including observed symptoms, temporary resolution steps, and impact, and ensure it is correctly categorized and prioritized within IBM SmartCloud control desk, initiating escalation if required by policy. Option C. Immediately proceed with a full root cause analysis and permanent fix without further logging or escalation, as the service is currently stable. Option D. Assume the issue is resolved and close the incident ticket without further investigation, as the application is currently functional. The correct answer is C. Immediately proceed with a full root cause analysis and permanent fix without further logging or escalation, as the service is currently stable. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT service management, where a critical incident impacting a core business function is being managed. The professional challenge lies in balancing the urgency of restoring service with the need for thorough documentation and adherence to established processes, particularly when under pressure. The potential for rushed decisions, incomplete information gathering, and bypassing standard procedures is high, which can lead to recurring issues, compliance breaches, and a lack of accountability. Careful judgment is required to ensure that immediate actions are effective and do not compromise long-term stability or regulatory compliance. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach prioritizes immediate service restoration while ensuring that all necessary diagnostic information is captured and that the incident is properly logged and escalated according to the IBM SmartCloud control desk framework. This aligns with best practices in IT service management, emphasizing the ITIL principles of incident management. Specifically, it ensures that the incident is documented, categorized, and prioritized correctly within control desk, allowing for effective tracking, resolution, and post-incident analysis. This systematic approach facilitates root cause analysis, prevents recurrence, and supports compliance with any relevant service level agreements, SLAs, or internal governance policies. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach involves focusing solely on restoring service without adequate documentation or categorization within IBM SmartCloud control desk. This bypasses the fundamental requirement of logging and tracking incidents, hindering post-incident review, root cause analysis, and the ability to identify trends or systemic issues. From a regulatory and compliance perspective, This lack of auditable records can lead to failures in demonstrating due diligence and adherence to operational controls. Another incorrect approach is to delay the full incident logging and categorization until after the service has been restored, potentially leading to incomplete or inaccurate information being entered. This can result in misclassification of the incident, incorrect prioritization, and a failure to trigger appropriate escalation paths or communication protocols. This undermines the integrity of the incident management process and can impact reporting and performance metrics. A further incorrect approach is to attempt to resolve the incident without engaging the appropriate support teams or following defined escalation procedures, even if the immediate fix appears successful. This can lead to a superficial resolution that does not address the underlying problem, increasing the likelihood of recurrence and potentially violating established change management or problem management processes. This also fails to leverage the collective expertise available within the organization, which is a critical aspect of efficient incident resolution. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a structured decision-making process that begins with immediate containment and service restoration, but critically integrates this with the defined incident management workflow within IBM SmartCloud Control Desk. This involves 1. Rapidly assessing the impact and urgency. 2. Initiating immediate actions for service restoration. 3. Simultaneously or immediately thereafter, logging the incident with as much detail as possible, categorizing and prioritizing it accurately. 4. Escalating as per defined procedures if necessary. 5. Ensuring all diagnostic steps and resolution actions are documented. 6. Conducting a post-incident review to identify root causes and preventative measures. This methodical approach ensures that immediate needs are met, while maintaining the integrity of the IT service management framework and supporting ongoing operational excellence and compliance. Question 20. The audit findings indicate that the current incident prioritization within IBM SmartCloud Control Desk is inconsistent, leading to delays in addressing high-impact service disruptions. The organization's critical business services are not being consistently identified and escalated according to their true business criticality. Which of the following actions would best address this audit finding and ensure compliance with best practices for IT service management? Option A. Implement a robust service level agreement (SLA) framework within IBM SmartCloud Control Desk, clearly defining critical services and their associated impact levels, which will then drive automated incident prioritization. Option B. Instruct the service desk staff to manually assess the business criticality of every incoming incident and manually assign a priority level based on their judgment. Option C. Conduct a series of ad hoc training sessions for the service desk on general ITIL principles without specific configuration guidance for IBM SmartCloud Control Desk. Option D. Develop a separate manual spreadsheet to track all incidents deemed critical by the service desk, independent of the IBM SmartCloud Control Desk system. The correct answer is A. Implement a robust service level agreement (SLA) framework within IBM SmartCloud Control Desk, clearly defining critical services and their associated impact levels, which will then drive automated incident prioritization. Explanation. The audit findings indicate a potential gap in the organization's incident management process, specifically concerning the categorization and prioritization of critical service disruption. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a deep understanding of how IBM SmartCloud Control Desk (SCCD) is configured and utilized to align with business criticality and regulatory compliance. The pressure to quickly resolve incidents while ensuring accurate data for reporting and future analysis adds to the complexity. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it directly addresses the audit finding by leveraging SCCD inherent capabilities for defining and applying service criticality. By establishing clear service level agreements, SLAs, and associating them with specific services within SCCD, the system can automatically prioritize incidents based on their impact on these critical services. This ensures that high-priority incidents receive immediate attention, minimizing downtime and potential financial or reputational damage. This aligns with the fundamental principles of IT service management (ITSM) and the operational requirements often mandated by regulatory frameworks that expect organizations to demonstrate due diligence in managing critical IT services. An incorrect approach that relies solely on manual intervention by the service desk to assess criticality is professionally unacceptable. This introduces a significant risk of human error, inconsistency, and delays in prioritization. Fails to meet the implicit regulatory expectation of a structured and auditable process for managing critical incidents. Furthermore, it bypasses the intended functionality of SCCD for automated prioritization, leading to inefficient resource allocation and potential noncompliance with SLA commitments. Another incorrect approach, which involves creating a separate, manual log of critical incidents outside of SCCD, is also professionally unacceptable. This creates data silos, making it impossible to get a consolidated view of all incidents and their true impact. It undermines the integrity of SCCD as the single source of truth for IT operations and creates significant challenges for reporting, trend analysis, and auditability. This fragmentation of information is a direct contravention of best practices for IT governance and can lead to regulatory scrutiny. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve a thorough review of the audit findings, a deep dive into the current SCCD configuration and operational procedures, and a clear understanding of the business's critical services and their associated SLAs. The focus should be on identifying how SCCD can be best utilized to automate and standardize the incident management process, ensuring alignment with both business needs and regulatory requirements. This involves engaging with stakeholders, understanding the impact of different prioritization strategies, and implementing solutions that are both effective and auditable.